Welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Monmouth County. My name is Lorraine Stone, and my pronouns are she, her, she and her. I serve as an alternate on the UU-CMC Board of Governors. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. Our mission is to create community, transform ourselves, and transform the world. I'm sorry, this isn't here. On this day that we take some time to celebrate the man who tried to teach us about community and transforming ourselves and transforming the world. I draw your attention to the backside of your orders of service for announcements and service information for next week. For those on live stream and on video viewers, the order of service link is available to you in the YouTube service description box. After the service, refreshments will be served in the community room, and people of all ages are welcome to visit with one another. If you are new to us, please do check out our website, uucmc.org, where you can sign up to get all the latest news of the congregation by email. We look forward to getting to know you better. Please set your devices on silent as we enter into worship. That means turn off anything that will buzz, jangle, or otherwise disturb people up here and everybody else. Welcome again to this place of love.
I'm the Reverend Dr. Craig Rubano, and I'm glad you're gathered here today. Whether you are here in person or on the live stream or watching on your own time via our YouTube library. This is the third week of a month in which our theme is story, and many of you helped out by sending in the stories of how you're getting along, 6 words at a time. I look forward to sharing those with you later. As the fires continue to burn in Los Angeles, as the war continues to rage in Ukraine, as hope begins to emerge from the rubble of the conflict in Israel-Palestine, here in this country, many are bracing themselves for what will likely be a trying time in the story of our nation. On this Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, his daughter, Dr. Bernice King, CEO of the King Center, encourages us to desist from helpless and hopeless talk. She urges us to keep our message positive, for anger and fear are the soil from which the darkest policies of the incoming regime will grow. She urges us to keep our resistance focused on policy, not on the idiosyncrasies of personality. She urges us to support artists and the arts and to take care of ourselves. I urge us all to remember to breathe, to limit our dosages of a news media gleeful to have outrageous and bald-faced lies to report on an hourly basis, and to concentrate on the connections we have with one another and with the organizations that support the stories of those marginalized by a decidedly imperfect country. Support for the arts and for the marginalized can begin right here with this gorgeous display of art and collection of prints from Oasis, a regional community for autistic adults in Middletown Township. The sale of the art benefits both Oasis and this congregation, and this beautiful display will be on view until mid-February. And 3 opportunities for connection are coming right up in this congregation. First, you are invited to gather tomorrow evening, Monday, at 6:30. The setup begins at 6 for a potluck dinner meant to solidify our bonds and to forge new relationships. Second, on Saturday, this coming Saturday at 7:30 p.m., a social justice warrior is coming as part of the Earth Room concert series to share their passion through music. Tickets are available at the coffee hour or at the door for Chris Matthews, or check out earthroomconcerts.org. And third, we hope next Sunday, this coming Sunday, there will be a soup luncheon fundraiser following the worship service. I say hope because so far we don't have enough people committed to help make it a success. We need 4 or 5 more people on board. So please contact Marinelle Mukherjee or anyone on staff to let us know that we can go ahead with the soup luncheon with your help. For our call to worship, with worship understood in its original meaning of a shaping concern for all that is of worth, I selected words by the late feminist and disability rights activist Laura Hershey, in which she considers the imperative of sharing our stories in a poem entitled Telling. What you risk telling your story, you will bore them, your voice will break, your ink spill and stain your coat. No one will understand, their eyes become fences. You will park yourself forever on the outside, your differentness once and for all revealed, dangerous. The names you give to yourself will become epithets. Your happiness will be called bravery, denial. Your sadness will justify their pity. Your fear will magnify their fears. Everything you say will prove something about their God or their economic system. Your feelings that change day to day, kaleidoscopic, will freeze in place, brand you forever, justify anything they decide to do with you. Those with power can afford to tell their story or not. Those without power risk everything to tell their story and must. Someone, somewhere, will hear your story and decide to fight, to live, to refuse compromise. Someone else will tell her own story, risking everything. You are here on a very important morning in the life of this congregation. And not just because it's one of our roughly monthly multi-generational Sundays with people of all ages gathered for the entire service. After 18 years of having had the privilege of Dr. Louise Chernowski's leadership as our music director, and after 5 months of a bevy of talent led most ably by our director of music emerita, Elaine Held, I am very excited to introduce you to our new music director, organist, harpsichordist, flautist, choral conductor, pianist, composer, among other things, Michael Rosin. I hope you will stay afterwards for a time of celebration with Michael. There will be cake. Come, let us worship together.
I'd like to invite Donald Chong to light our chalice this morning. We're going to use our multi-generational chalice lighting, a chalice lighting that reminds us of who we are and who we aspire to be, a people with open minds, helping hands, and loving heart. So as Donald lights our chalice, let's do this chalice lighting together. We are Unitarian, Universalist, the congregation of open minds, helping hands, and loving hearts. Thank you, Donald.
I invite us to remain seated for our opening hymn so that everyone can see and enjoy our ukulele orchestra, newly vibrant under the leadership of Joe Grazee, to whom we thank. For our first Sunday with Michael, it seemed appropriate to issue a welcome in the form of Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, number 361 in our hymnals and on the screens. The ooks will play it through once before we are invited to join in. Don't upstage the ukes, Lorraine, yeah.
Well, you know, it's like kids and dogs. Kids, dogs, and you.
That's all right. Let me get some going here for you. There you go.
Okay. Every week in this congregation, we are provided with an opportunity to practice generosity. This is your invitation to contribute to the well-being of our congregation and to our social justice partners through the good works of organizations which receive half of the monies collected each month. Our Share the Plate recipient for the month of January is Lunch Break / Family Promise. Clients at Lunch Break can pick out their own groceries. The lunches feature locally sourced produce and help with planning nutritious meals. Each family has a case manager who helps with housing and employment issues. UUCMC members Judy Stevens and Peter Bellincampi continue to volunteer at Lunch Break. For those of you present here in the meeting house, the plates will be passed by the ushers. You may also join this time of generosity via text, send your offering by mail, the old way, or charge your contribution online with a memo designating an amount to Lunch Break / Family Promise. Please give generously.
Thank you.
This month, we're exploring one of my favorite topics, story. Stories help us make sense of the world. They connect us with others. They share knowledge, emotions, and experiences. They help us to explore who we are, to imagine new possibilities, and to create shared understanding. Now, the practice of storytelling is as old as time. Before we had storybooks and modern conveniences like computers and even paper and pencil to write, people gathered around fires and in communities to tell tales, to teach lessons, and to explain natural events. These spoken stories were passed from person to person, evolving over time and becoming the foundation for myths, legends, and cultures. So here's something really neat. We're not just made of stories, we're also writing our own stories with every choice and every decision that we make. With that in mind, I'd like to share a wisdom tale about an ancient mythological bird called the Sankofa. Sankofa is a word, symbol, and a concept in the Twi language of Ghana that translates to go back and get it. San is to return, ko, to go, and fa, to fetch, seek, or take. So to go back and get it. The Sankofa bird is often depicted as standing facing forward, its feet facing forward, its head looking back, carrying a precious egg in its beak. And it symbolizes the need to reflect on our past to build our future. And so I share with you this short wisdom tale from April Rosario. Once upon a time, in a vibrant village surrounded by lush green hills, there lived a wise bird known as the Sankofa. This beautiful bird had bright feathers that shimmered in the sunlight, and it had a special ability. It could fly forward while looking back at its past. The villagers admired the Sankofa and often sought its wisdom. One day, a child approached the bird to ask a question. You see, the child had been feeling confused about their future and who they were becoming, and they were worried about the choices they would make. "Excuse me, wise Sankofa bird," the child called out. "How can I find my way when I'm unsure of what lies ahead?" The Sankofa flew down from its nest and landed gracefully beside her, its eyes twinkling with kindness. "My dear child," the bird said, "don't you know that we are the authors of our own stories? But to understand our future, we must first learn from our past. The journey of life is a lot like flying. You can look ahead, but remember to glance back at where you've been." Now, the child stared at the bird with kind of a puzzled look. "How can I, looking back, help me?" The Sankofa replied, "Think of your experience. Each mistake and success has taught you something. By reflecting on them, you can make better choices. Just as I fly forward while looking back, you too can move ahead with the wisdom that you've gained." Inspired, the child thought about their past and all the things that they had learned over the years. They remembered being afraid to speak in front of the class. And after they did it, they found joy in sharing stories and thought, maybe I'll be a writer. They recalled when they had helped a family member while they were not feeling well and thought, maybe when I grow up, I'll be a doctor or a nurse. They recalled how fun it had been to help build the neighbor's fence and thought that maybe they would be a carpenter. Each memory made them feel stronger and more confident about who they could be in the future. "Now, child," said the Sankofa, "what do you want to achieve in the future?" "I want to be a storyteller," the child exclaimed. "I want to share stories that inspire others." The Sankofa smiled. "Then remember your past. Embrace your courage and your creativity, and keep reflecting, and it will guide you on your journey." So with newfound determination, the child thanked the Sankofa bird and set off to share their stories with the world, often pausing to remember their past and letting it illuminate their path forward. We are the writers and the authors of our own stories. And we must examine our past to determine the best way forward. And I think this is an especially great reminder this time of year. It's still January and the new year, and who we will be and what we will do and how we will become are still on our minds. And people are thinking a lot about who they are and what the next chapter will be. And oftentimes, society says that each year starts as a blank slate, a brand new page. But this story, and religions like ours, tell us that we need to know where we've been, and we need to know where we want to go, and who we want to be. So not only do we write our own stories, but we can also choose the stories that we listen to, the stories that we read, the stories that inspire us, the ones that give us hope, the ones that move us towards liberation. We can choose and we can write stories that put us on a path toward building the world we dream about, the beloved community. So in the days and weeks ahead, may all of us think about how looking back will help us look forward to what needs to change, what needs to grow, and what needs to expand as we write the next chapter in the story of our lives. May it be so.
A singer-songwriter friend of mine, Elizabeth Sullivan, once wrote a song about the end of a relationship that begins, "Turn it around, walk a mile in my shoes. I'm the one leaving you, like you're fixing to do." The premise behind it comes from something her mother used to say, "Turn it around," meaning look at the story from a different angle, from another person's point of view, or in words pertinent to our service today, it is within each of our powers and abilities to rewrite the stories of our lives. And it occurred to me as I wrote these last sentences that walk a mile in my shoes is 6 words. Just as are the many 6 words stories you sent in about where you are in your lives, where you are going, and how you use CMC figures in. I won't be able to share all of them this morning, but this month, when our congregational theme is story, your words will form the bulk of my reflection this morning. In reading your 6-word stories, I was reminded of a school of psychotherapy that I studied in seminary, developed by 2 men in Australia and New Zealand, Michael White and David Epstein, called narrative therapy. Narrative therapy begins with the premise that there are many ways to look at a problem someone is having, and a first step in gaining more control or agency over that problem is to externalize it. In other words, to separate out the problem from the person's identity. It's not the person who's the problem. Rather, the person is struggling with a problem. By looking at the problem separate from the person, they are able to rewrite their relationship with it in a way that brings to the fore the already considerable skills they have at their disposal. All of a sudden, any number of strategies reveal themselves to be eminently possible because the person is now in control and the problem isn't necessarily part of their story anymore. Step by step, the problem can be overcome. And on this Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, I'm reminded that there is a social justice aspect to this therapy as well. For it is often a culturally dominant discourse that can cause a person to believe certain things about themselves that just aren't true, or to suffer under labels that have nothing to do with who they really are. There is a way out of these oppressive structures, or at least from their effects on us. Dr. King had a dream that things would be different. And on this Sunday, when his spirit hovers over our waters, urging us into actions of dignity building and resistance to the powers that would deprive us of that dignity, let us remember that perhaps especially with one another's help, we can change the stories that constrain our lives. As one of you wrote in 6 words, hurt, blame, judgment, change the story. Or as another one of you urged, remember, there is always another way. And when the problems we have seem overwhelming, let us remember that it helps to break them down into smaller bites. As one of you wrote, change begins with doing small things. A big part of our story here, of course, is our participation in a congregation where we covenant with one another to behave in ways that honor the worth and dignity of all and that value the belief systems that any one of us might espouse. That's why Unitarian Universalism is not a creedal faith movement, but a covenantal one. It's the promises we make to one another that make us whole together in community. And in 6 words, a number of you talked about the power of community with its ability to solicit and value our stories, all of our stories. Living in community requires everyone's participation. Our lights shine more brightly together. Let's share and learn together again. Unveil your story. Reveal your soul. Some made UUCMC and its effect on their lives very concrete. And you'll keep count. I'm not going to keep counting the 6 words, right? Feeling accepted in community at UUCMC. Here, I've found the best friends. The right balance. Ministry, music, membership. Here, love isn't just a word. Family, love, loss, resurrection of spirit. Courage to share stories of hope. Empowered to help me see clearly, and empowered to help others to see. And on this day when we welcome Michael, believe in the power of music. Some of you talked about your goals for the future, reaching out and getting more involved, reaffirming that every interaction is significant. Amazing opportunities, transitions, transformations, trust, process. In community, I work for justice. Fighting existential crisis with fierce tenacity. Soulful, caring, thoughtful, supportive, loving oneness. Community, love in action by many. See, any number of you could get up here and do a sermon. Look at what you've look at what you've written. All of these came from you in the last 2 weeks. Several of you talked about getting older and your aspirations. 79, like fine wine. Body declining, mind and heart expanding. I'm older, wiser, and hopefully nicer. Walking free of pain with family. 80 and golden, making a difference. Gaining strength to challenge the future. Learning to live gracefully with less. I need laugh time with friends. Make space for clarity and simplicity. Some gave pep talks, trying to focus, not get overwhelmed. What can you do to help? Look for what you can do. Move forward with kindness every time. Let people know you love them. Past fear, through hope, we shine. Strive for compassion, connection, and persistence. Letting sorrow out, letting joy in. I am, I can, I will. How about that for a pep talk? Others waxed philosophical. No walls do good. Consider all. Fair isn't equal. Equal isn't fair. Worried? Always. Optimistic? Usually. Doing? Sometimes. Snow blankets world, beautiful, quiet, calm. Love lives through our many actions. Sometimes good enough is enough. That's if you make sometimes into 2 words. And a couple of you were funny. Whose children these? Ours, we said. I love that one. I don't know why. Here's one that we'll never know who wrote. When on horse, do not fall. So thank you for your robust participation. I mean, as we head into a deep chill, both literally and perhaps metaphorically, let us not forget the serious message you all bring to us this morning. Change the story. Turn it around. Engage in a rewriting. And as often the case with healing, do it in community. A community in which you are whole, vibrant, and loved. A story we may have told ourselves for years can be turned around in a way that shows the strength we already have in our lives. One of you wrote, "Find your resilience in facing adversity." Being reminded of the good things in life can counteract a tendency to focus on the less than good. One of you wrote, "Take note of the beautiful moments." And I can think of no better way to conclude than to offer these, your words. I am thankful that you are you. I'm grateful you're in my life. Please know that I love you. So take heart. We can change 6 words at a time. May it be so. That's all your words. I invite us into a time of prayer and meditation with words written expressly for Martin Luther King Sunday by the current transition minister at All Souls in New York City, the Reverend Kathleen Rollins. Spirit of justice, God who befriends those who stand upon the constant edges of decision, crucial and alone, we are grateful to be together this morning.
We gather especially to remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but not only him, for there were thousands of unnamed women and men who put their bodies and lives on the line so that all may be free.
And yet freedom comes at a cost. And we know that racism and homophobia, ageism and ableism, sexism and classism, transphobia, all of these, often unacknowledged, these realities prevent us from fully knowing one another, from creating the beloved community spoken of by prophets and ordinary persons alike.
May the work of Dr. King continue to eradicate injustice wherever and whenever we encounter it.
May we continue to speak out against injustice, to speak even if we are afraid our words will not be heard or welcomed.
May the spirit of Dr. King continue to flow through our daily living.
May we have the courage of Dr. King as we continue to stand up for justice, reconciliation, and truth, despite challenge and controversy.
Dr. King went to the mountaintop. He saw the promised land, and he reassured us we will get there one day.
May that be no paradisal dream, but a reality in our own time.
May it be so.
And amen. I invite us to rise in body and spirit to sing our closing hymn, number 118 in our hymnals and on the screens, "This Little Light of Mine."
Light of mine,
shine. Up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Shine all around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Shine all around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Shine all around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Once again, welcome, Michael. We look forward to your being among us. And for our closing words of benediction, you may be seated if you want. I've chosen words by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. from a speech he gave at the Riverside Church in Manhattan on April 4th, 1967, 1 year to the day before his assassination. These are his words. Now, let us begin. Now, let us rededicate ourselves to the long and bitter but beautiful struggle for a new world.
This is the calling of the children of God, and our siblings wait eagerly for our response. Shall we say the odds are too great? Shall we tell them the struggle is too hard?
Will our message be that the forces of American life militate against their arrival as full people, and we send our deepest regrets?
Or will there be another message of longing, of hope, of solidarity with their yearnings, of commitment to their cause, whatever the cost?
The choice is ours. And though we might prefer it otherwise, we must choose in this crucial moment of human history. Let us go in peace to change the stories that bind and to bless the world.